Coming into the 2002 125 motocross season, 4 riders had the lofty but realistic goal of capturing the championship. Unfortunately for Grant Langston, his dream has began to fade after knee surgery has put him on the sidelines. Reigning champion Mike Brown expected nothing short of another title, but he also has knee problems and is now playing catch-up after 1 moto win. Rookie James Stewart was nothing short of spectacular, winning 3 of the first 4 motos. However, a DNF in the last round, accompanied with Chad Reed's 2 moto wins, have catapulted the Australian into the points lead. Can Reed increase his points lead and hold off the 2 American sensations? We will sift through the sands of Southwick for the answers. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Southwick, Massachusetts, Motocross 338. We're on the other side of these Little League baseball fields. We will see the 4th round of the AMA Chevy Trucks U.S. National Motocross Championships. I'm your host, Davey Coombs. Joining me will be former champion David Bailey and Cameron Steele. This should be a fantastic race. Well, what started out as a 4-man race is now down to 2. Chad Reed and James Stewart are doing exactly what everyone thought they would. They are first and second in the point standings, but Mike Brown is now on the sidelines, joining the already injured Grant Langston. This time it's his knee. We caught up with Mike earlier, talked to him about not being able to ride here at Southwick. So, Mike, a no-go today?
I don't think so. You know, I went and tried to practice, and I just, you know, it's just weak right now. I don't know if I should just give it another week and try to get it stronger, but right now it's just not really painful. It's just weak. You know, I can't get my leg out really good, and you know, it's disappointing, but I did all I can do over the last 2 weeks, you know, to get ready for this. And you know, I was in physical therapy for, you know, 11 hours a day trying to get it strong, and it just didn't work out for me.
Well, David Bailey, what a tough break for the defending champion.
And the problem there is that he's known this was coming for 2 weeks, so it's been just a therapy and a nightmare coming.
Now, Chad Reed is in control of the 125 class, but only by 10 points over James Stewart, who won our first 2 nationals, but he broke down in that second moto at High Point. Beyond that, it's a long way back to Grant Langston. As we mentioned at the top of the show, he's not here at Southwick either.
It looks like it's just completely like you said, Davey, coming down to a 2-man race. Reed and Stewart, both these guys have had their problems, and it just seems like by the end of the season, the last guy standing is going to win this thing.
Well, as you can see, just an absolutely perfect track here at Motocross 338. Bernie Allen and his crew once again doing it. And David, why don't you take us through our Suzuki Fast Lap?
Well, the rain has made the sand a little bit different. Normally it's really loose and dry, but it's more packed. The bumps are a little bit sharper, and the track is the smoothest track on the circuit in the morning, but it's a fool's paradise. By the end of practice, it's so rough, and it keeps changing throughout the day. The track hasn't changed over the years, but it changes itself in the course of the day.
Let's go down to Cameron.
Down here on the unique starting gate, it has asphalt out past the gates. It's the only place that does that. It's also the first place to ever have a concrete starting gate. Behind me, the 91 KTM, that's Mike Treadwell. Lives about a half an hour from here, and he's a sand specialist, a Southwick specialist, and KTM's putting some money on him this weekend. We've been talking a ton about injuries. James Bubba Stewart has been hurt. He's still hurt, but he's down here racing, and earlier we had a chance to talk to him.
My knee's good. I mean, it's still a little sore. I heard it a little bit yesterday. I got it caught up in a rut, and it's painful, but I mean, it's way better than last week. Last week I didn't even want to ride, but I went out there anyway and got a 4th, so it was good. I mean, it's way better than what it was last week.
Well, David, this is James Stewart's first visit to Southwick. As we take a look at our Suzuki starting lineup, you can see James Stewart in second. The point standings. Brown will not be out on the racetrack. A little further back, privateer Larry Ward actually won the national here back in 1989 when he was number 971 on a Honda. Ivan Tedesco, the Yamaha of Troy team. Privateer Josh Woods, actually not a privateer, ECC Suzuki. And then at the bottom of our list, number 408, Paul Lamb. Down on the starting gate, they are getting ready to go. After a little bit of a delay there, the KTM of Steve Boniface had to go back to the pits to get some going over, and they're getting ready to drop the starting gate. You look over the shoulder of James Stewart, and off they go. A clean clean start. You can see Stewart already with a nice hole shot. Oh, and a big pile-up right in the first turn. Back to the front of the pack, Stewart, Smith, Walker, and the whole crew comes off. Back in that first turn, I think that was Hot Rod Thane, David, who went down.
He has had a tough season. He went down at the start of Glen Helen the same way and about the same place in the starting line, but Stewart hooked up off that cement. It looked like the Kawasaki crew was kind of worried a little bit about something that may have happened to him during his parade lap. Hard to tell exactly what that was, but everything's smooth sailing right now.
James Stewart out front, Danny Smith on the Blimpie Suzuki. Then it's 125 West Region champ Travis Preston, who's back this week after missing the High Point National. A little ways back, Chad Reed is up to fourth, and that is Sorby in fifth. A little stack up there in the corner, and that looks like it's Tedeschi. No, it's actually Greg Schnell, who was switched over to a YZ250F this week. Whoa, Stewart. Looks like he's loving the sand, David.
He just hopped over that bump right there, so these guys dropped down in it. They're still going fast, but they're hitting a few more holes, and Stewart jumps up into that berm beautifully. He's just saving energy. He's using these bumps a little bit like Supercross, trying not to hit them all.
There you see Smith up around what they call the Buckley berm, and then it's Travis Preston, and behind them comes up to fifth place now the Blimpie Suzuki teammate of Smith, Buddy Antones. David, he's been riding exceptionally well lately.
He has, and you know, if he can just get the consistency there, then he'd be styling, because he's always up there, it seems like, in one moto. And just watching Stewart go around this racetrack, the kid is so fast, and he's so creative in the way that he picks his lines. He slams through bumps that a lot of other guys are sort of slowing down for. It's hard not to just get excited. And for me, at times, watching him, I'm speechless, but I've got to say something. That's my job.
You know, before the race, I asked James Stewart if he was a sand rider, and he told me the part of Florida he's from doesn't have that much sand, but you would never be able to tell from looking at him right here.
No, he's beautiful to watch, but he's not getting away from the pack. I mean, when you see him come by, he looks so fast. He's really not pulling away like I thought he would. Actually, Bob Hanna, when he raced up here, he was so fast in the sand that the lap times didn't really reflect that.
Down into the bottom part, what they call the frog pond. Smith looking very good, and he has had a really bad week, and we'll get to that later. Smith looking good in second, Preston third, then it's Reed, and now we understand that Brandon Jessamine has made a pass into fifth place.
So far, so good for Smith and Preston. These guys are not like they just got a good start and they're up there. They're holding Reed off, and they're keeping Stewart pretty close.
Well, speaking of that start, David, let's go back and see what happened to Roderick Thane in the 125 pack going into that first turn.
Well, it's on the far side. You see Stewart just clean hole shot right there, but this big clump of riders on the inside, that's where the pileups usually happen. A couple of those guys clip, bike going end over end. Tane gets hit in the back. We talked about Schnell switching up to the 250F, and Tane was actually going back down to the 125 YZ, and it looks like maybe he needs to line up on the outside. That's twice on the start. He's gotten clobbered on the inside.
And here you see Reed, he's chasing after Preston. Chad Reed's from Australia, but he spent the entire season last year living in what's called the Low Countries of Belgium and Holland, racing the 250 GP Series, and obviously he learned how to become a pretty good sand rider too.
Well, he talked about being really comfortable in the sand. He lived in the sand all last year during the GP season. The only GP won, in fact, was in the sand. Looking forward to this race, but you know, a lot of the guys who were looking forward to this race last year didn't fare that well, so you just got to see what happens. He's got a pretty good start, but Stewart's getting away from him now.
Up around the mechanics there, you see Sean Ulikowski of the Factory Connection team giving Preston the signal. Preston doing very well. Like I said before, back for the first time, missed High Point with an ankle injury, and this is a tough track to come back to when you're injured.
Well, that's for sure. It's not that rough right now. It's rougher than anything they've seen so far this year, but it's going to get a lot worse even in this moto, and the second moto will be just whooped out everywhere. That won't be smooth anymore. This uphill will be a lot more rutted, and Preston, rather, he had a fracture in his foot from Vegas, and it turned out that he had it a little bit worse than they thought. He actually had a little spot of his tibia, I think, that was fractured, and without being able to train hard coming into this race, it's just going to really wear on him at the end.
David, no sooner than we're taking our camera off Chad Reed that he goes around Preston. You just caught a glimpse of Brandon Jessamine there, but Reed moves into third. But I got to tell you, the way the track is here, it seems like the guy carrying their momentum is the one doing the best right now.
Well, that's what But right there, the momentum that you just talked about, Preston just lost a lot of it, and that's where it comes back to the balance I was talking about with riding in the sand. You've got to have incredible balance and total confidence in your physical ability to muscle your way through everything, and the creativity that it takes to ride in the sand, and to notice when new lines are developing, because this track is changing from lap to lap.
You talked about the 2-stroke and the 4-stroke switch of the Yamaha Troy guys. What do you think would be easier to ride on this track?
Well, since I didn't ride a 4-stroke, it's hard to say, Davey. I mean, it seems like the bike would be a little bit heavier and harder to muscle around, but then again, you can be able to get a little bit more drive out of some of these corners where it's so deep, like right there.
Back up to the front of the pack, James Stewart. Very impressive in his first visit to Massachusetts. He's pulling away. There you see his mechanic, Jeremy Albrecht, giving him the signal. Stewart starting to pull away.
And no chest protector. I don't think I've ever seen him ride without a chest protector. Have you?
I don't think there's any rocks here. It's all sand. All right, when we go back, James Stewart out front, then Smith, Reed, and Travis Preston. Speedworld's presentation of AMA Motocross is brought to you by Honda, the company that defines performance in motorcycles, ATVs, and scooters. Honda, performance first. And by Suzuki, maker of innovative motorcycles and all-terrain vehicles. We are at Southwick Motocross 338, Southwick, Massachusetts, and Florida's James Stewart way out front in the first moto. There you see the distance back to Danny Smith. A very solid ride for Smith at this point. Then you see Chad Reed on the YZ250 up we were talking about. Travis Preston is fourth, and it looks like Jessamine is starting to reel him in fifth.
Jessamine looks excellent out there, and to be able to catch these guys a little bit lets me know that he is really moving, because all these guys are staying about the same pace from each other. You see Jessamine starting to close a little bit. I thought that Stewart, you know, I talked about it earlier, it looked like he would just pull away because he seems so fast when he comes by. You know, seems real flashing, he's hopping over bumps, but Danny Smith is not that far behind, and then same distance back to Reed. Fast pace up front. Also, a lot of different types of riders there. You have Stewart, the rookie. You have Smith, who's kind of short. You have Reed on the 4-stroke, Preston, the tallest guy out there, and then Jessamine right there. Jessamine goes by him. Nice move by Jessamine. That's a fast section right there. He keeps his feet on the pegs. What a bummer. See Mike Brown on the sideline. He would have been the veteran in that mix up front. Last year, Travis Pastrana and Grant Langston came in talking about how good they were going to do, and arguably that rider, Mike Brown, was the fastest guy. Now he's on the sidelines. Okay, going back, you have the battle for 7th. It's Matt Walker, the Frenchman Eric Sorby, and Ernesto Fonseca on the factory Honda. I just can't keep my mind off of Brown right now. Just seeing that shot of him sitting there in the stands watching this thing, knowing how fast he can go here in the sand, and the physical strength may not be at its peak right now because of all the time he's had to spend getting that knee healthy, but normally this is a very strong track for him, and watching his title slip away is heartbreaking. Right there you saw Ernesto Fonseca get a little sideways, and he makes the pass on Sorby. Now Fonseca is racing with a little personal bet thing going here with Ricky Carmichael. These guys haven't shaved since Las Vegas because Ricky, in full support of his teammate, said, "We will not shave until you get on the podium." Well, it's been about 6 weeks since the first national, and I can tell you they are getting some growth going on those beards, and Carmichael's getting married pretty soon. His fiancée Ursula not very happy about it. Yeah, Ricky is pulling for Fonseca. He wants to get him up there to get a podium. These guys both want to share. Actually, Fonseca doesn't look too bad with a beard, but Ricky, well, I don't know. Did you and Johnny O'Mara or any of your other teammates ever do things like that? Well, we can't talk about it. It was usually like training challenges and stuff, and we were usually on the podium, so we didn't have to really bet against that. I remember the time Johnny O'Mara swam across the alligator pond up the Indigo outside Daytona, but I think it was a Kawasaki rider then. That was a Metasovic bet. Taking a look at the pro circuit mechanics, they've got their riders in 6th and 8th as Fonseca has come up to split Walker and Sorby. Now we go a little ways back to 9th place Buddy Antonez on the Blimpie Suzuki. Maybe the oldest guy in the field, if not Larry Ward, the Moto Triple X privateer. Got to be pretty frustrating for Antonez to be riding as hard as he is. Oh, right there. Down goes Sorby.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you never know in the sand here. Guys going down everywhere.
You know, that's a perfect example of the fact, look at his left shroud is hanging out to the side. That could be a problem a little bit later, but it really shows you the way that he went down right there. It didn't look like he did anything wrong. He just ended up losing the front end like that. So this track just takes all your concentration all the way around.
Stewart starting to gap Danny Smith, who enters your picture right there. That lead has got to be about 12 seconds. Smith coming around the corner, then up to the Buckley berm. You see his team manager, Roger DeCosta, cheering him on. And Danny's had some pretty good rides lately.
He has, and you know, I think back to that mud race at Hangtown. He led most of the race until Stewart came up and got him. So he's been up front with Stewart before. Now watch what happens to Sorby right here. He's standing up light, just leaning a little bit too much to the inside. Wasn't really in that berm. Lost the front end. He tries to pick it up quickly and keep the clutch in, but he stalled the bike. And I'll tell you what, when you go down like that, this late in the moto, it just saps all your energy. You can see the shroud right there bent out to the side, and Sorby is really going to be feeling it when he tries to get going.
There you see Jessman. He was our second overall finisher to this guy, Chad Reed at the Sobe High Point National. Oh, and James Stewart. James Stewart is waving to the crowd, smoke coming out of the bike. That is a DNF. James Stewart coming off the side of the track. We will try to figure out what happened there. Now that changes the whole complexion of this race. We now have Smith out front, and then it's Reed, and then it's Brandon Jessman. Just like that, the entire complexion of this race has changed.
Stewart just going, this cannot be happening. 2 times in a row. It looks like Ricky Carmichael right there, but I don't think it is. He wouldn't be wearing jeans, and he's got a moto coming up. But this could be it. This could be the title, and Reed's still out there.
You know, the same thing happened last year to Mike Brown at the beginning of the year. We saw a guy on a Kawasaki, and no offense to Kawasaki, but we saw a contender drop out of 2 motos in a row. Now what's happened to Stewart? Danny Smith, suddenly the leader again. Like you said, David, he led at Hangtown in the mud. Now he's doing it in the sand, but he's got Chad Reed all over him.
Well, he's probably thinking, why can't I just get the lead and not have to fight for it so hard? He's got Reed back there, the next fastest rider in this class.
When we come back, the conclusion of the first moto from Southwick. Well, back to Southwick on a dry day, and everything has changed. Let's reset the playing field. James Stewart is out. Danny Smith, your leader. Then it's Chad Reed, Brandon Jessman, Travis Preston, and 5th place, Matt Walker. David, just a crazy throw, and Chad Reed, and he goes off the side of the track, and he looks like he's holding his shoulder. Chad Reed, unbelievable. Holy smokes, what a turn of events. That's his team manager, Dean Baker. He's holding his arm. He may have broken that wrist or the shoulder, and what in the world happened?
That was just a violent swap, and then clear on the other side of the valley, James Stewart, not wanting to hear it from Bruce Sternstrom, Kawasaki's team manager, going, yeah, is everything okay there, bud? And he's like, no, that's 2 DNFs. I'm losing the title, but this is going to make it a little bit better since Reed has got a 10-point lead on him. Does this violent swap. Watch his left shoulder.
Oh, man.
It was either, I'm not sure, Davey, that could be his wrist or his shoulder, but the way he held his elbow up like that, it leads me to believe that may be his shoulder or collarbone.
You saw his team manager, Dean Baker, team technician for Yamaha Troy, right there. And now suddenly Roger DeCosta, after what has to be the worst year in Suzuki's history, has got his riders 1st and 2nd. Danny Smith, the leader, Brandon Jessman 2nd, and this is just unbelievable. Danny Smith has been through a really tough couple weeks.
Well, losing his brother Kip after the Mount Morris round in a construction accident, that whole entire family, and Danny just going through, I can't imagine what. I haven't had anybody close to me pass away, and the way it happened, and then to come in here and to be racing like this and to be in the lead kind of leads you to believe that Danny's got a little extra purpose today, and maybe his brother Kip is looking after him.
You know, Danny thought about not riding this race. He talked to his trainer, Jeff Spencer, and Spencer said, Danny, this is the kind of track, if you're not ready, you're not focused, you can get yourself hurt on it. And he said, no, I'm going to do it, and this is just unbelievable. What a Cinderella story. Underdog story, I don't know what you call it. Danny Smith on his way to his first ever moto victory in a race that he wasn't even going to enter.
Kind of makes sense, though, doesn't it? I mean, it's good to see. I hate to see Stewart go out, and I hate to see Reed have the problem he's had, and hopefully that's not a broken bone or something that's going to keep him out of the series, because then it comes down to a one-man race, really, with Stewart just left alone with the points lead if Reed is, in fact, hurt. But I'm glad to see Jessamine and Danny Smith inherit this first and second spot. Jessamine has ridden so hard in this moto. He's a hard worker. He's prepared. Like you said, not necessarily a sand rider, but picked it up pretty well to be riding as fast as he has here in this first moto. And Danny, what must be going through his mind right now?
Just a bizarre turn of events here in the first 125 moto at Southwick. James Stewart goes out of the race, steps up to the side of the track, starts rooting for Danny Smith to win because everyone wants this kid to win. And there it is, Danny Smith, the Blimpie Suzuki team, his first ever moto win. Brandon Jessamine will come around second. There you see Turbo Reef, or rather that's Chris Wheeler giving him a pat on the back right as he laps him. But Danny Smith wins the first moto here at Southwick. Well, when we come back, we will talk to Danny Smith, and we'll also try and find out just what in the world happened to Chad Reed. Well, welcome back to Motocross 338 in Southwick, Massachusetts. The first moto in the books, and there you see an ecstatic Danny Smith giving his team manager Roger DeCoster a hug. Just an incredible turn of events. And this is Chad Reed, the 125 National Series points here. You can see that's Greg Deck, the Yamaha Troy team. He's got a splint on. It looks like it's definitely his shoulder. Now let's go to Cameron with a very happy winner.
Danny, it's got to be a very special day for you to get your first ever national victory.
You don't really know what this means to me, you know. I don't want to get up here and cry about my brother, but I lost him last week, and nobody will ever know how much he meant to me. We were a team, and I try to just think about where he's at now in a better place, and I had nothing out there the whole time. It's been a rough week with the sleep and the eating, and I didn't have anything the whole time. I just kept charging, and didn't give up. And I said, you know what, I'm either gonna win this thing or I'm gonna wreck. And I just rode smooth, but Bubba Stewart was actually a lot faster, but he was a really, really, really good sport, and he came over and gave his condolences to me right before the start, you know, and it meant a lot to me, you know. He's a really good sport, and his bike blew up and he was waving me by, and it was really cool.
Right on. Well, congratulations, and I'm sure you'll have the strength in Moto 2 as well.
I'm gonna give it everything I got. I mean, that's all I can do, and go home with my head up.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Wow, Danny Smith, what an incredible moto for that rider and the Smith family. I know his father is here this afternoon as well. Looking at the results, Smith, Jessamine, and Preston on the podium. Justin Bucklew, best ride so far this season, rounding out the top 10. Let's go back down with Cameron in the winner's circle. He's with our runner-up, Brandon Jessamine.
Been quite a fixture here on the podium, and the sand today didn't seem to hold you back one bit.
No, I mean, I've been training really hard, and I can't thank Blimpie Suzuki and my mechanic, James Coy, and Fly, Scott, for getting me out here and trying just the opportunity to do the best I can.
Talk about how the track conditions are.
Well, the track was, it wasn't too bad at first, and it started getting rough and big holes, and I'm sure it's going to get rougher for the second moto. So, I mean, thanks to Gary Semick, I've been training a lot, and I'm in good shape for it.
Right on. Congratulations.
Hey, thanks a lot.
Taking a look at our schedule, some upcoming races in the series. Log on to usmotocross.com for more. Let's go back to Cameron. He's with Travis Preston.
Well, Travis, not a bad way to come back to the Nationals after some time off.
Yeah, I fractured my ankle a little bit at Vegas, and it was hurt, so I took some time off, came back, and it's feeling good here.
Talk about the track out there. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's really rough. It's really rough, real sandy. I got sand everywhere, so it's pretty tough out there.
Everything that guy says makes
Before every moto at the Nationals, you get a parade lap. Chad Reed decided not to take it. In moto number 1, he blew his shoulder out. That may have taken a regular guy out of the race. He's back for moto number 2. He's going to try. James Stewart, who had been injured and was back, broke a cylinder head stud. That put him out of the race. The 4 guys with the chance at the championship have had tons of problems. Mike Brown didn't even race today because he's injured. It's kind of a crapshoot now. We're going to see who can win it. It's up in the air, but it should be a great race. Danny Smith coming through at the first moto win. We'll see if he's got it for moto 2.
Well, David, it's hard to believe Chad Reed is even out there, but he got himself a shot. Jeff Spencer put that shoulder back into place, and he's going to make a go out of it, a lot like Southwick last year with Grant Langston. Yeah,
it's just unbelievable. When you see him getting carried away, you think that's it for at least a round or 2, or maybe the series, but Spencer is the best at dealing with injuries. So he's going to get Reed out there with a chance to keep this championship alive.
All right, you saw your Suzuki starting lineup. You're looking over Chad Reed's shoulder. He is back on the track, but he's on the far inside after that DNF. The cart is sideways, the gate goes down, and we're off. And there you saw Greg Schnell coming up from the outside. Greg Schnell with the whole shot, and down goes Jessamine. Brandon Jessamine down in the first turn. There you see Kelly Smith, Danny Smith, and it looks like Ernesto Fonseca and Chad Reed is 5th.
They're all up there. You see Stewart has changed. He's wearing red this time. Coming through right there on the inside. So all the players are up front. And a great opportunity for Danny Smith, first moto winner. There he goes right there.
And there you catch a peek of James Stewart right behind Chad Reed. There he goes behind Larry Ward. So it's Schnell, Kelly Smith, Danny Smith, Fonseca, Reed, Larry Ward, and it looks like Smith, the privateer, not the factory rider, doing a good job of holding off this whole pack.
A couple of 4-strokes up front, hooking up off that cement. Just like Cameron had said, there's a lot more cement to deal with, so you get wheel spin behind the gate and out in front of it.
And David, you can see there's a lot more bumps too.
A lot more bumps. The lines are completely different. And the fact that Chad Reed did not go out, didn't look like Mike Treadwell did either, who was sitting next to him, to take a look at this track. He's going to spend a few laps learning what's happened to it since the 250s were out there.
There you see Fonseca in 4th, and right there on the inside goes James Stewart. He is 6th. Stewart, like Reed, had a terrible starting spot. Right there he goes by on the inside, and it looked like Reed just gave him that spot.
Yeah, I don't think Reed is ready to fight Stewart. He was faster all day yesterday in practice. He was the fastest guy in the first moto, and looks like he wants that title again here in this moto. He wants to be the fastest guy on the track and try to make up for all the points he lost with that DNF.
And there you see Ernesto Fonseca in 4th. Now, he finished 5th in the first moto. So as it stands right now, it looks like Smith, and that's Danny Smith, Smith and Ernesto Fonseca are the only 2 guys up there that were up there in the first moto. And there goes Stewart on the outside of Fonseca. Stewart now up to 4th.
That was a pretty aggressive move as he went by Fonseca, kind of threw Fonseca a little bit off in his line. See a little bit gap that Stewart already has on him now.
And Larry Ward has also passed Reed, so Reed may be struggling a little more, and actually, I kind of expected that, David.
Yeah, I'm with you, Davey. I mean, the fact that he's even out there is amazing. I think the only thing he has in mind is points, and Stewart is blowing my mind once again. He came through that fast right-hander, 2-wheel draw. Just leaps into that berm. Everywhere this kid goes, it's just amazing to watch.
For a guy who doesn't have a lot of sand where he rides, holy smokes, can he ride in the sand.
Watch his lines, too. The way he comes through the pack, he never follows, and he just has the strength and the balance and the confidence in himself to be able to just hit holes so hard that most guys would be like, uh-oh, this is going to be, that might crash here, and he just muscles his way through it.
A great start for 3D Racing's Kelly Smith. He was with Moto XXX, but that was a Supercross only deal. So Kelly, as true a privateer as you could possibly be, right now holding down 2nd place behind Yamaha Choice Greg Schnell. But he's got Stewart coming. You see the yellow flags out, slowing down a little bit, and there's a rider down on the track. So it's Schnell, Smith, Stewart, the other Smith, Ernesto Fonseca, and that is Chris Wheeler of the Moto World, or actually the ECC Suzuki team, down on the side of the track. And you saw Mike Craig as team manager. Back up to the front. This is the battle for 2nd. Inside out there for Stewart. And Smith's able to hold on the gas and hold it on just a little longer.
But it keeps going back to what I'm saying. Stewart just never follows. He's always got a little something else that he can do. And he pulls tear-offs in places. That time, at least he did it in the air, but he's been doing that on fast straightaways, just taking big risks on when he's clearing his vision.
And right around the outside, there goes Stewart around the outside, and now he's in his second. A fantastic charge here in the first part of the moto, and he's trying the outside on Schnell now.
The kid is just, look at that.
Schnell gave him a look over, and it was like, no way.
And he pulls a tear off one-handed on a pinned third gear straightaway in the sand, flies all the way to the bottom, lands right in a hole, lands in another one. And that's the section right there where Chad Reed popped his shoulder out of joint, and Stewart is just powering through there. The kid is, look at the balance he has to be exactly in that berm the right way, so he's not plowing or scrubbing any speed at all.
You know who he reminds me of? A young Robbie Raynard. I know a lot of people overlook Robbie now, but look at the way Stewart rides, just like him.
Yeah, good call. He does, and even with the Kawasaki and that red Fox gear, he kind of resembles the way Raynard looked when he first jumped on the pro scene.
So we'll be back to Southwick in a moment. Our leader, James Stewart, then it's Schnell, Smith, and Smith. Welcome back to Southwick, Massachusetts for the fourth round of the AMA US Motocross Championships. And James Stewart is back out front like he was in the first moto, but he didn't finish there. It was a DNF, so now it's Stewart, Schnell, Kelly Smith, Danny Smith, and Ernesto Fonseca, and a little further back is Chad Reed.
Stewart once again riding hard, but not really getting away from these guys. A tight group. Looks like NASCAR. These guys just all so packed in and close. And it's good to see these guys really honor those flags. To see Stewart ride up and actually just slow down, totally take his time through there.
Again, that's Chris Wheeler down on the side of the track. As they come up around the Buckley berm, as we saw Cameron stand there earlier, look how much bigger that thing's got.
That's the most photographed.
Whoa! Danny Smith goes down. Smith goes down all by himself, and you can see guys passing him everywhere. There goes Damon Huffman of MotoRacing.com. Getting the bike started. There goes Antonez. There goes Paul Curry. So Smith loses about a half dozen positions, and Greg Schnell back into second place. Kelly Smith still holds on to third.
You know, and Danny talked about the way that his week was coming into this race, not really prepared.
And right there, Schnell looks like he gave a very wide berth to the fourth stroke of Smith. So Smith second, Schnell third, Fonseca in fourth. And right now, I got to tell you, the way it works out, that would be your overall winner, a 5-4, because none of these guys did well in the first moto.
Well, it's hard to say at this point with everybody's so packed in tight. But definitely, even though the Stewart's out front, there's no way in the world he's going to get the overall. But going back to Danny Smith crashing like that, he's not on his game physically coming into this race. And I talked about Sorby going down that first moto and just sapping all of his energy. Smith is really going to feel that this time, and he was in it for the overall win. He's got to feel like maybe this is slipping away, losing all his positions so early.
Did he give it all up in the first moto?
He rode all as hard as he could go. He said, I'm going to ride as hard as I can go and try to win this thing or crash. And when you ride like that, it takes a lot out of you.
And there comes Reed around the outside. Looks like Reed is starting to pick it back up. Could it be that he's figured out how to ride with that shoulder injury?
I'm amazed at what he's been able to do right now. And you know what's helping him perhaps is that he's got to ride really smooth and find the little bit different lines out there that not hit all the deep holes. And it seems to have helped him a little bit to try to stay with this group without using so much energy. See, he goes way back out to the outside and kind of floats down into that berm without hitting the big bumps.
Kelly Smith continues to hold second. Schnell is third. Oh, and Fonseca looked like he caught a bump there. Fonseca is fourth, then comes Reed. And as far as James Stewart goes, he is starting to pull away.
Well, he's going to get some points on Reed. But what's amazing to think right now is that since Reed and Stewart didn't finish the first moto, they're way out front, first and second in this championship.
And they were still 1 and 2 after the first moto in the points.
Right, so it looks to me like unless Reed can get hot and try to pick up a few more positions here, Stewart may pull even with him in the points.
Do you think right now somewhere along the side of this fence, Mike Brown is thinking, man, why am I not out there?
Yeah, and Langston. I know that Langston didn't really have much of a choice. He had to drop out and have that surgery, but Brown has got to be going nuts thinking, if Reed can go out there and ride that much pain, maybe I could have too.
So there you see Fonseca comes around the outside of Schnell, so he puts Schnell, our early leader, back in the fourth spot. And right behind Schnell next will be his teammate, and actually the team captain, and that's Chad Reed as they come up out of the back section, a pair of 4-stroke YZ250F Yamahas.
The last lap by the top section of the track, Ricky Carmichael was out there screaming for his teammate Fonseca, and he's starting to pick up spots. And he was lucky not to get collected in this crash. Danny Smith losing that front end. Fonseca just getting by without getting a foot peg into the swing arm there.
Similar crash to what we saw Eric Sorby doing the first moto.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same type of deal. And now Jessamine having problems. It looks like he's okay, but he's going to lose positions.
Just a big shakeup here. Everyone who did good in the first moto is at the back in the second moto. And guys who didn't finish the first moto are out front now. Kelly Smith was also a DNF. And so right now, the way it stands with Reed going into second, or rather third place, first, second, and third in this race, David Bailey, all DNF the first moto.
Unbelievable what this 125 series has been like since the beginning. Just with Fonseca and Mike Brown going down.
Langston out of the picture.
Tane going down at Glen Helen. And then look, there's Ricky Carmichael again, pointing to his Mustang going, come on, get up there. I want to shave for once.
And now Reed trying an outside line around Smith. And this is the same way that Smith was able to go around Schnell, but he's able to hold off. It looks like, gives him a look over, able to hold him off. And he keeps looking over, but he's holding him off, David.
Chad was so close, but he's got to back off just a little bit. And he's starting to look aggressive to me. It looks like maybe in the moment here, understanding what's at stake with Stewart out front, he's decided, the heck with the pain. I got to get up there and pass this guy.
Yeah, and we should add, he did have a pain shot. I mean, this guy's not out there just completely, it comes up on the inside. He is not out there just gutting it out. I mean, he did get a little help.
Yeah, but imagine what he's going to feel like a little bit later. I know I'm looking at your shoulder. You got a lump over there, David. You know what it feels like to have a shoulder injury and have to ride on this racetrack. It's unbelievable what he's able to manage, the kind of resolve that it takes to go back out and do whatever it takes to keep this points lead alive. And if he does, in fact, win this championship, Davey, I'm going to be thinking about this moto right here and what he's been able to do.
Just unbelievable ride for Chad Reed. Yeah, I broke my shoulder, but I was in the hospital about this time.
Yeah, these guys, you could see it, you know, in Reed very early. I had a friend of mine out there who was coaching Jeremy McGrath, watching Reed at the Yamaha test track going, you know what, this guy is not kidding around. He means business, and I have a feeling he's going to do very well, and he is.
And there you see Jessamine. Jessamine down again, and it looks like he is done for the day. Brandon Jessamine out of the race. That's Allie Seymour, Kevin Wyndham's mechanic, helping him pick the bike up. So when we come back to Southwick, it's Stewart, Reed, Kelly Smith, and Ernesto Fonseca. World's presentation of AMA Motocross is brought to you by Suzuki, maker of innovative motorcycles and all-terrain vehicles. And by Honda, the company that defines performance in motorcycles, ATVs, and scooters. Honda, performance first. We're back here to Southwick, the battle for second shaping up, and Kelly Smith almost goes over the handlebars. A full privateer stuck in between the factory wires. Reed is second. Smith is third, and then Ernesto Fonseca on the Honda is fourth. And on the inside goes Fonseca, and down goes Smith.
Well, Smith actually jumped into that berm a little bit wide. Fonseca was close enough to jump in there. I don't think Fonseca really took him out or anything. He didn't mean to do it, but Smith was trying to get back into the track. He was high up into the bushes right there. He really had nowhere to go. He set himself up for that. And this isn't these guys' first dance. They were back in St. Louis. They got together, and that time it was Smith going down as well. So that just kills him in this moto. It'll take him a while to get going from there.
Just a perfect ride for Kelly Smith, the best we've seen him ride this season. And he's down just like that. Southwick will do it to you. Now, let's go back to the battle for fifth place. And effectively, this has something to do with the overall picture now, David. You have Fonseca up in third, but you have Smith running in fifth. And if we did the results right now, Danny Smith would somehow be the overall winner.
Well, I think he knew, the Suzuki guys were letting him know he had to get around Travis Preston. Here's a look at the pass for the lead earlier, one-handed.
That is getting postered in basketball when someone does something like that to you.
Well, he came all the way out in front of Schnell. He didn't really need to, but he did want to set himself up good down the left side of that straightaway to get into that next right-hand sweeper. He's almost home now, about 4 more corners, and he will take that brand new Fox gear and that bike all the way to the finish line this time.
Isn't it cool when someone pulls a tear off like that?
I love it, especially when they do it in a place where he does it. Usually you see these guys wait for a spot in the air where you don't have to worry about your front end washing out. He doesn't care about that. I noticed it at Hangtown in the mud. He reached up so many times where it would have been a little scary to reach up.
So James Stewart rebounds from a first moto DNF to come back and lay the wood on the 125 class here. Stewart with the victory in the second moto, and that is going to give him some points on Chad Reed, who somehow managed to hold on to third. And now back to our 5th place rider, Danny Smith. And David, this guy's about to ride into the AMA record books for the first time, his first professional win, and it could not come at a better time for him.
Well, he was kind of cruising around out there, and then those guys were just waving towels. You see all the Suzuki shirts right there going, come on, get around Preston. It's probably pretty hard for him to believe right now that he's got the overall win, a 5th and a 1st to Fonseca's 5th and a 2nd.
Comes over the finish line. I don't think he even knows it at this point. Rides off the track. James Stewart, the winner of the second moto, Ernesto Fonseca, Chad Reed, Damon Huffman, and Danny Smith, who's going to be your overall winner. Rounding out the top 10, Preston, Antunez, Schnell, Larry Ward, and full privateer Paul Curry. A little further back, Treadwell on that one-day factory ride for the Red Bull KTM team. Let's go down to Cameron with James Stewart in the winner's circle.
James, a thoroughly convincing win in Moto number 2. It must be heartbreaking to go through bike problems in Moto number 1. Tell us what happened.
Before I even started my motor mount, one of them broke off on the gate, and I looked down, I'm like, oh my God. But we thought the thing was gonna go, and the other one broke off during the race, and all the water came out of it. I thought luck wasn't going my way, but I mean, Kawasaki pulled it through that second moto and just had to have fun out there.
A lot of people at the beginning of the year were talking about the 4 riders that really had the best shot at the championship. You guys have all been plagued by a little bit of bad luck. What's going on?
Yeah, if you think about it, the first 4 riders in the point standings didn't even race or didn't finish that first moto. So it's gonna be a good season. I just gotta keep consistent and wish for the best, and we'll see how it turns out at the end.
Well, James Stewart has shown us he can ride in the mud, and today he showed he can ride in the sand, but Danny Smith is your overall winner with a 1.5. Fonseca 2nd. He gets to shave. Travis Preston 3rd. Let's go to Cameron with Danny Smith.
Getting wet up here, your overall champion today, Danny Smith. A tough fought Moto number 2, a win in Moto number 1, but seems like he had a little bit of extra power today.
You know what? For the second moto, I said, you know what, I'm gonna get a good start, and I'm gonna hang around. And I fell right over here, and man, it takes a lot out of you, especially what I've been through to pick the bike up and then charge hard. But I just caught my breath and got my Suzuki bat. I don't even know what place I got that moto, but I just started passing guys, and then they said Preston, Preston, and I had to get him for the overall. I knew it because he was 3rd, and he was out of steam, it looked like.
It definitely did. Unbelievable riding today. Congratulations on your first big overall win. Anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, I just want to say that, Kip, I love you, and my family are doing a great job being so strong, and it was tough for me to even be here. And for me to pull out the win, I know I had some help. But just like to thank my team for sticking with me behind this year. Blimpie Suzuki, Michelin tires, Bill's pipes, O'Neill, Fly helmet, Scott goggles, Alpine stars, Hastrix. I can't, this sport, they support you really well, and it makes a big difference, because when you get down, it's really hard to get back without that good support. But I don't know, I'm just so happy you don't even know.
Right on, your overall champion today, Danny Smith. Back to you guys.
Well, David, I know it sounds like a cliche, but sometimes nice guys do finish first. But looking at our point standings, Chad Reed, after that nearly disastrous day, still the points leader, but he's only got 5 points on James Stewart. The 125 National Championship is turning into a barn burner. Here's some upcoming dates. Make sure you log on to www.usmotocross.com for upcoming rounds. Just an unbelievable day. Danny Smith gets the overall win. Chad Reed gets the popped out shoulder, but he somehow comes back and does the hero ride. For David Bailey and Cameron Steele, I'm Davey Coombs from Southwick saying so long, everyone. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.